What's going on, everyone? So, every year, you get asked, like, okay, who's your dark horse? Who's the team that no one's really talking about that, you look at and go, like, man, they can win a championship or they could be the best team in basketball or whatever. And, there was two teams in particular that I was like, depending on what happens with Jason Tatum, I think Boston could be a title contender. Like, I think they're still really good. Jason Tatum comes back at the right time, they might be ridiculous. And then as the season progressed, I was like, yeah, if Boston gets Jason Tatum back, they could be representing the Eastern Conference. And then the other team that I was like, on paper, looks ridiculous, but I just don't trust them to stay healthy. And that was the Philadelphia 76ers. Did a live stream over on As It Stands Lakers. This is, I don't know, a couple months ago now at this point. Somebody was like, hey, we're approaching the playoffs. What is like that one team that you're just like, yeah, that team, like, I wouldn't be shocked. And I was like, the Philadelphia 76ers, right? Because again, you look at Philly on paper, they're stacked. They're ridiculous, right? With Maxey, Edgecombe, Paul George, right? You got Kelly Oubre, you got, Joel Embiid, all these guys, like, you have athleticism, you got bench depth, you got all the stuff that you want and need to be, again, just a real competent, competitive, elite team in roster and all these other things. And yet, again, they can't stay healthy. I mean, it's that simple, right? Like, they're a team that all season long, it was like, man, I wonder what they could be if, or man, if this team, if this, if that. And they weren't healthy until now. Joel Embiid's back. He's saying he's feeling great. He's looking great, right? Philly went from being down 3-1 to forcing a game 7 and have been the better team the last few games and have a realistic chance and shot at winning game 7 and sending Boston home, which would be quite the surprise, right? And it's funny that these are the two teams that I was like, I'd be kind of worried about, right? Like, even I talked about, like, man, I'm good. Like, if the Lakers play anybody in the East in the NBA Finals, if they get to obviously they have to get to the NBA Finals, but I was like, if they play any team in the East, I was like, as long as it's not Boston, as much as it pains me to say, as long as it's not Boston, I trust that the Lakers could win that series. So I'm hoping Philly ends up beating Boston, but Philadelphia, again, the problem is like, even if they do beat Boston, which I really think that they can, problem is like, are they going to be able to stay healthy the entire playoffs? Paul George hasn't been a model of health, although he missed 25 games, which might have actually been a good thing. And we even talked about this when, the suspension came down, and I was like, this might actually be the best thing for Paul George and Philadelphia. Philadelphia can just stay alive. If they can stay alive, like, Paul George might actually be healthy come playoff time. And you're seeing it. And look, Paul George has been brilliant. Right, he's playing defense. He's been doing an excellent job on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown in particular, defending him, hitting shots, getting big shots, making plays, doing everything. Joel Embiid is over here, getting 8 assists and looking like point center, and he's showing Nikola Jokic how this works, and it's been so impressive to watch this all kind of unravel and play out for the Philadelphia 76ers, and there is some real promise that, like, hey, this team might actually be able to do this thing, right? This team, who they play next? They play, the Knicks, right? It's like, man, like, they could beat the Knicks. They match up incredibly well against the Knicks. And, again, you just kind of go down the list, and it's like, if you're the 76ers, this could be your year if you just stay healthy. Like, and here's the other problem. Here's the biggest problem for Philadelphia. Whether they win or lose, right? The problem is that you can now, if you're Daryl Morey, talk yourself into, hey, this is what I knew this team could be if they just got healthy. But man, Joel Embiid was unhealthy, and then Paul George got suspended, and blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, you can talk yourself into, this works, this is why I did it, da, da, da. And the problem is like, I don't think that they should. Obviously, look, if the Sixers win the championship, you have to run it back. But outside of that, I think you need to blow this team up. I think you need to trade Joel Embiid. I think you need to trade Paul George. I think you need to trade everybody not named Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. Right? Like, those are the two guys that I think you build around. Those are your future and those are your foundation. I would sell Joel Embiid to the highest bidder. Even if he goes on, stays healthy all season next year, and ends up winning an NBA championship for a team. It is what it is. I think you take it on the chin and you make it happen. I think the same thing for, Paul George, right? Sell him to the highest bidder if you even can. But I think you try to sell him to the highest bidder. You try to move off of him if you can. And you just hit the reset button. And you have Tyrese Maxey and you have VJ Edgecombe. And you just try to, again, build around that team to the best of your ability. Because there are some teams that could use Paul George and might look at it and go like, man, Paul George could help a ton. He's just making a lot of money for a guy that just, again, hasn't been able to really super prove that he's healthy. Joel Embiid's good enough that teams will take a flyer on. Joel Embiid's good. Like, problem with Paul George is you may end up having to salary dump him to a team, right? Or just taking like a terrible return. But like, it might be worth it just to kind of get off of him. I'd try to clear as much money off the books as possible, all that stuff. And then, like I said, just kind of hit the reset button, right? Because even if they let's say Philadelphia beats the Boston Celtics, my concern is it's fool's gold. Like, they're going to look really good when they're healthy. But the problem is, again, just that. Healthy, staying healthy, being healthy. It's easy to go like, oh man, like, this team is everything I knew it would be. I knew it. I called it. Like, all that. Like, again, on paper, they're ridiculous. You look at that team is stacked on paper because of what VJ Edgecombe has been immediately. Right out the gate, he's been a huge impact guy. Right? Like, and he's been a playoff performer and all. He hasn't been afraid of the moment at all. I mean, that was a huge steal for them. But problem is that, like, the pieces that you need the most in Joel Embiid and Paul George that are supposed to be your best players, that are supposed to be the leaders, that are supposed to be the guys that, were supposed to be the difference makers to lead this team to the promised land. Like, all those guys are you're gone, right? So you're cooked. I just don't trust that those two are going to stay healthy. I just don't trust that those two are going to be what you need them to be year in and year out. And I think that this run is nothing more than just fool's gold. I think this run, you look at it, it's like, it's easy to talk yourself into. It's easy for Daryl Morey to go, oh, look, I told you. I just don't think that it's going to be sustainable. But anyways, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else not, it's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.